There's
everyone
like a
goes,
there's so many different areas of life to work on, right? There's like health, friendships, relationships, family life,
yeah.
spirituality, career, and the main thing I haven't really been working on recently is career, unfortunately.
Hmm. All right. Do you want to say more about that?
Well, it's because I've been mainly focusing on health, like I mentioned,
Oh, sorry,
and
sorry. Yeah.
my brain injuries from last year from the doctors being idiots is pretty much resolved at this point, which is good.
Hmm.
But one of the latent consequences of that is that I was bedridden for most of last year. So now I'm kind of
Hmm.
overcoming that and then working kind of just on getting health habits
Yeah.
there and then adding more to my knowledge base. I've been helping my mom kind of develop more into Stage Orange, Spiral Dynamics, which has been fun.
Oh, you
So,
have?
yeah,
All right. Interesting.
I've been
Interesting.
trying to be careful with it, but she seems to be quite receptive. So we've been watching. I have some Brandon Burchard. He's like, he's not, he's he's kind of a mixture of like 80% Stage Orange, 20% Stage Green sort of person
Hmm.
to kind of use the Spiral Dynamics model to describe who he is. And he's like a self-help sort of a person. And it's perfect for my mom, right? Um, and so I have some of his courses.
Sure.
So we've been watching them together and then talking afterwards. And there's been some pretty good talks, which has been cool.
That's been cool.
So we'll see what ends up
Now, how have you
coming of.
been? Oh God, I'm doing Dark Brotherhood quests. It's been so long since I've done these. Um, but my character is like morally ambiguous enough. I think that she would be fine with this. But anyway, so back to your mom. I thought that so how have things been between you two, if you don't mind me asking? Like,
Um,
have you like how have the conversations gone over? Has she been like receptive? Has she been like,
yeah, she has been. But yeah, I've actually been kind of surprised, and I'm not getting my hopes up because she's been like this before, purely to try to like manipulate and stuff, and then
yeah?
eventually she'll put her agenda in. So I don't trust it yet, and I
Mm-hmm.
won't until I start seeing it actually. Because she can fake stuff like this, right, for quite a while, just to try to like gain favor with me, to then try to slip her
Mm-hmm.
manipulative agenda in
Yeah.
after that.
No, I get
So
that.
we'll see what happens, but I'm hoping maybe some of it will eventually get through because she's been stuck for like 20 years of her life in just crap and mediocrity, and I empathize with that, right? Like, she's my mom, so I'm not going to be her therapist, but if there's anything I can kind of do to help shift her mindset a little bit,
Mm.
um, then that'd be cool. And I feel like the thing that she's been missing is Stage Orange self-help, because been using a lot of Stage Blue self-help along with like various therapists and stuff, and it hasn't been helping her at all. I feel like she really needs some more Stage Orange self-help to kind of break through the rut that she's in. Um, because that helped me, right? I was raised by her, so a lot of my psychology 5 years ago came from her,
Mm-hmm.
and using um, for me at least, self-help books and courses and mentors and stuff helped me more than therapy. I'd say about 80% of my help with my psychology and mindset came from that and not from therapists, although I've been to several.
Sure.
And so I think balancing both can be helpful, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just because therapy didn't help me, what helped me more was books written by therapists. So
Interesting.
maybe it was just I was going to not the best therapist, but yeah.
It's definitely possible.
But yeah,
I mean,
I don't know.
yeah, no, no, I mean, like, I hear that. The thing is with therapists is that, like, it definitely, like, so I'll preface what I'm about to say with the statement that therapy is very, very, very useful, and it can be essential for growth and dealing with issues on the individual level. But an
Mm.
unfortunate reality is that a lot of therapists come in very different degrees and qualities and from a lot of different backgrounds. And it's hard because, like, when you are, meeting a therapist and, starting, your, I mean, it really is kind of like you're starting a relationship with someone, right? It's someone who you are confiding some of your most personal and sensitive information is. And God, I cannot find this person to murder. I'm so sorry. I'm trying to find someone to murder in this game. But anyway, with a therapist, right? It's hard because you can put a lot of trust in someone, and you can expect someone to basically to solve all of your issues. But then it turns out that actually the person doesn't have really the type of background and understanding necessary to help you deal with the issues that you're going through, right? Because, like,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
every therapist is a perfect person. They're going to come from their own backgrounds, their own biases, their own issues, and they'll be able to help you each respectfully with, some issues that you have, but definitely not all of them, right? And sometimes not the ones which are necessary for you to deal with, which is pretty shitty because it's not like you can just go on to, Google and, like, look at therapists and be like, all right, what personal biases does this therapist have? Or like
That and then one thing I noticed is there's no reviews,
mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah,
I've never seen like Google reviews for therapists,
there are some
so
websites out
it's
there, but
hard to
they're so
gauge
dodgy. Yeah.
if they're good or bad. I found like good doctors that way because there's
Mm-hmm.
certain websites that rate doctors,
Sure. Yeah, same for
where
like
people
lawyers
can
as well.
post reviews. Yeah, and like other types of businesses and books and stuff. But with therapists, you have literally no idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that you're either going off of word of mouth of someone you know, or based on, whatever post they made on Psychology Today or their own website about who they are, but that doesn't
Right.
always tell if they're going to be good or not, or what their methodology is. And I've found with a lot of therapists that I've gone to now, after reading about 300 books on self-help and psychology and stuff, like there's nothing new that they're saying that I haven't already encountered and implemented, especially with this last therapist I went to. He was new to therapy. I think he was just starting his practice and
Mm-hmm.
he didn't seem to have any insights at all.
Really? None. That's crazy.
Unfortunately, that were what's the word? Higher than stage orange sort of
Gotcha.
insights. And all the things he was talking about, I already knew about.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I guess my going to a therapist right then, there's nothing that they could have done because I was struggling with medication withdrawal induced brain issues. So like
Mm-hmm.
what what can you do when I don't know, except for just try to cope? Because it's not like it's a negative thought or something that you can reprogram that you're dealing with. It's like withdrawal. And I'd never experienced that before, where it was like out of my control what was happening to my brain.
Yeah.
And it was very discouraging. And so I was going to this guy, and he was just like, "Oh, what are your goals in life?" And I'm like, "To survive." And he was like, "No, no, no. What are your goals?" So he kept steering it back to like, "Oh, gung ho, career goals." And I'm like, "I know how to do that. I've read books on setting career goals. I've taken courses on it." But, you know, and I've accomplished a lot, so you, I think I know more than you about this actually, about prioritizing. It's kind of funny. I was talking about like, well, have you read this book or that book? And he's like, no, I haven't. I'm like, oh my goodness. It's kind of funny.
Oh my
So I was
god.
teaching him some stuff. It was like
Hmm.
really funny. But yeah, I don't know. I just haven't had good luck, I guess. So I've kind of given up temporarily with finding therapists. And
Yeah. Or sorry, go
I have
on.
more faith in myself and solving my own issues.
Hmm.
Because I'm like, oh, I'm struggling with this. So I could find a book about it. And so I always kind of approach anything I'm struggling with, including mental health, as like a new research project.
Right.
But yeah, the issue is sometimes, obviously, I have blind spots, and I think that's where a therapist could maybe come in handy, is helping me see something that I've missed.
Hmm.
I think that'd be the main value that I'd be looking to have from a therapist. Because really, I think what a therapist's job is to help you gain greater self-awareness about yourself, and
Hmm.
then teach you coping tactics and techniques, or to like slowly reprogram your mind or cope with your mind, right?
Hmm.
So either like I know one of the most popular, what's it called? Neuro-linguistic programming.
I would know. You'd know better than me.
Um, it's one of the things he was trying to teach me, and I'm like, yeah, I know. I've read the book by the guy.
Hmm.
I've read Feeling Good by David Burns. That's the book where I think popularized. I don't know if he came up with it or if he just wrote a book about it. I forget, but it's about reprogramming your mind. And it works really good. So like, for example, instead of going to a therapist to learn that coping tactic, I just read a book about it and then started applying it in my own life.
Hmm.
And it helped a lot. So that was about reprogramming negative thoughts. But then other times, like, um, other times it's not so much about a thought, it's about kind of like an emotion or feeling. So
Okay.
things like meditation can be a little more effective because it's less about a reoccurring thought that gives rise to the emotion. It's now about the emotion itself. And
Hmm.
how do you cope with an emotion? Some like Eastern, like
No, that.
Buddhism and Taoism, they talk about monkey mind and stuff. So
Wait,
meditation
what?
can help. Monkey mind?
Yeah, I've
Have
never
you
heard
heard
of
that
that.
term? Oh, yeah. So that's a term that a lot of people, like meditation teachers, use
Hmm.
to symbolize the constant verbal chatter that goes on in our minds, that can be quite
Huh.
undisciplined, right? Certain thoughts or feelings can intrude into what you want out of life, or
Interesting.
so it's
Okay.
like the more primitive mind, right?
Okay.
And how do you tame that monkey mind? And meditation is really useful for that. So one of the guys I went to, that's like all he did. All of our sessions were basically just teaching me meditation, but he himself wasn't a very good meditation teacher, so I never I never was able to learn it from him, but I got some books that taught me how to do that a lot better.
Hmm.
Um, like my favorite book right now about it is The Mind Illuminated, um, by John Yates, PhD or something.
Hmm.
He also has his Buddhist name or whatnot, but I thought
Interesting.
it was a pretty interesting book. He's a neuro, I think he's like a neuroscientist turned meditation teacher, which is
Hmm.
kind of a cool combination.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think, and then I've also read books about self-awareness. So like, I've been able to succeed despite um, having pretty not the best therapists by kind
Hmm.
of identifying what it is that their roles are, and then reading books about those roles, and then applying those things directly to my life.
Hmm.
That's been my approach, and it's helped me a lot. I think I've overcome most of my mental health issues. But
Hmm.
then I started doubting myself because of these withdrawal symptoms I was experiencing in this last year. Like, wow, I thought I solved my anxiety issues before, and it turned out that um, my coping skills weren't good enough to deal with these pretty crazy withdrawal symptoms I was experiencing from these medications I didn't even need to be on that the doctors put me on,
Sure.
and then took me off way too quick, way too fast of a taper. So that was fun. But luckily, my brain is pretty much healed at this point, which is nice. So now, just trying to get my body back in shape, and
Hmm.
then get all my habits back in place. Because one thing is I never was very good at being consistent with health-related habits. So
Hmm.
while I had a lot of career success, I was neglecting my health a lot. So I've been
Sure.
reading some books on habit formation, which has been nice as well
Yeah.
to kind of get that part of my life handled for good. So that, because I feel like health is a very foundational thing.
Hmm.
So I think it'll definitely pay dividends to take some time to pause and read some books and really find some effective ways of consistently for the rest of my life having positive habits in those areas.
Yeah. No, and I tend to agree, right? It's cool that you're making sort of a more conscious move towards improving the quality of your own life as far as as far as your health goes. I'm gonna try and
Yeah,
engage the best I can. I'm fighting a world
that's
boss. I'm
okay. I'm
soloing a
sure
world
you're doing
boss.
something.
Yeah, but it's it's an interesting sort of discussion that you bring up, right? To the extent that when we are, I think that I think that we as a society tend to put a lot of stock in therapists, and I think that's warranted. And I'm not saying that that is without merit as a policy, right? As a thing that we should believe as a larger society. But I think it's also important to remember that we can also have a good degree of autonomy in our own personal development, right? And that
Yeah.
therapists, while they can be extremely useful for the purposes of oh my god, I just realized I was doing something terribly wrong. While therapists can help you can be a very effective tool for helping you explore different alternatives or different possibilities for how to improve the quality of your life. I think it's also important to realize that they are more a tool and not the absolute authority on how you should respond to certain things in your life, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I definitely learned a valuable lesson that um that yeah, that sometimes it can be hard to find a good therapist, and so there is hope that that's finding a good therapist isn't required for healing per se. So if you're having issues with that, I found it very helpful for me. It felt empowering that, I could be able to take charge of my own life a little bit more and not feel so out of control to where like I just had to find the perfect therapist or else I wasn't going to succeed. So I think that's an issue in a lot of different aspects of life that people
Hello.
feel like maybe in their career
I,
too, maybe you're stuck because you can't find a good mentor
mhm.
to help you. But there's so many things just sitting in your local library, like books that could be invaluable sort of mentors. I like to think of my books as mentors. It's kind of weird. Like, but in a way, that is what it is. Some person wrote that book with the intention of someone reading it, right? So they're kind of like they're scaling up their ability to mentor people when they write a book, which is cool.
Hmm. Yeah. I think that this just goes to the fact that like therapists can be very helpful tools, but are not necessary for achieving self healing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of different routes that you can take to achieve that goal. But I also wouldn't want to say avoid therapists, right? Because I
Oh
know a
yeah,
lot of
no.
people have been helped by therapists. It's just my own life story. I just maybe didn't have the best therapists.
Mm.
But yeah, I still kind of got some tangible results, which is exciting for me. But yeah,